Hey everyone, it's another interview with a great agent. Her name is Andy. She's about to jump online right now. I've been speaking to her for a while now, and I'm excited to finally have her on. And let's just wait. Hold on one second. She's tapping in right now. Hold on. Just logging on. It's crazy out here right now. The roads are so icy. I'm actually doing it from home. Oh, here she is. Hey, how you doing?
Amy, how you doing?
It's insane. It's we got our first snowstorm in a couple years. So I was just out there this morning and it's all black ice. So I took out a mailbox on the way home.
Oh, ice can be very dangerous. I've heard stories. I don't live in the ice, so I have no idea, but I've
Yeah, normally we don't really get, we get a little bit of snow because we have the warm air off the ocean. So normally we don't get much snow. It's more in last night was all ice. So this morning, it wasn't bad getting out of the driveway, but once you hit the roads, it was all black ice. So I was going like what normally takes me 4 minutes to get to, the grocery store. It took me about like 25 minutes. And there was like four car accidents because nobody knows how to drive. It was insane.
yeah, and I think it's slippery, no? With the black ice, you don't see it. So I think that's where the danger lies, no?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Well, I appreciate you jumping on all the way over there. So where are you right now?
I am at our Kinetic Studios. We do here, they have an amazing studio and they have podcast areas and it's actually absolutely beautiful. So if you go into my feed, you guys can actually see some photos and videos. They're rocking it. They've been in this business for about a year. Super cool people. So if you're ever in Miami and you need to film anything,
Well, I'm gonna actually be down there in a couple weeks, so I definitely need to swing by. This is my beautiful studio, is my guest room right now because I'm not at work. But I wanted to jump on because everybody keeps asking me right now, like the Hamptons, when this all went down in March, there was a mass exodus from the city and other suburban areas, and we saw, the first 6 weeks sort of a standstill, but then it went on fire, and it really was on fire until like early November. I mean, we've cooled off a little bit because notoriously in the Hamptons nothing happens between Thanksgiving and Christmas, but I know that you guys, everybody's going south because all my clients keep calling me and they're like, it's 80 degrees. Why aren't you down here? So, what is the market like down there right now?
so I actually pull up a report, especially for multifamily, which is basically what it would entail leasing apartments down in Miami. And we did have a dip on the rent growth, meaning that the lease prices have gone down about 0.9%.
Wow.
We have a vacancy rate of 8.6%. And I mean, we're having a combination between the positive and the negative. Unfortunately, we did get some brunt because we lost some business. We're very well associated with tourism. So
Hmm.
tourism took a dip. That means the hotels actually, they're actually the worst specialty right now. So basically hotels were dwindling, they weren't doing well. And that also meant the jobs for a lot of the people that were in this area. So what happens is we have some people leaving to their families' homes and going back home. But that
Wow.
means, we're going to have that come back as soon as they reopen. We just had the vaccinations being shipped into Miami on Monday. So basically this Monday
Hmm.
shipment. And all of the nurses and doctors had the first phase of vaccines, which means that we're already COVID ready. So we're going
Yeah.
to see definitely that go back up.
Yeah, I mean, what we're seeing in the city right now, I mean, Cuomo is literally crippling business in New York City. I mean, I have friends who own restaurants in the city, and they're like, we were operating at a net loss, but at least we were able to somewhat pay our rent. they're like, my rent's 35,000 a month. I'm gonna get bled dry, and he's just not realistic. I mean, I understand, like, obviously, if you have underlying issues, you should stay home, of course. But it's crazy that he can cripple, a business, and the restaurant business in the city. I mean, I was in there for some meetings. Every other, storefront is boarded up. He's literally shutting down New York City single-handedly. It's insane. Hopefully, he's put some restrictions on us out here. With restaurants, everybody has to be out by 10 o'clock. Like literally at 9:55, it doesn't matter if you have dessert in front of you. They come pick it up and they're like, get out. So at 10 o'clock, you have to be outside the restaurant, which is pretty insane. I've never seen that before, but I understand why it's there. It's just insane what's happening in the city, but I think it'll bounce back. I mean, lucky enough, like our numbers were low enough out here in the summer where our restaurants still were able to survive because that's when they make their bulk of their money. But yeah, I mean, you guys are getting hurt because this is your big payday season, and obviously, if he's closing them down, whoever the governor or local municipality is closing them down, it's probably not, advantageous to the owners, and they're probably cutting staff, which affects everybody else, and it's insane. I was going to open up a restaurant and right before COVID, and I was about to sign the lease for June 1st start date. And, obviously I didn't go through with that because I saw what was coming. But I couldn't imagine if I signed that lease and I was on the hook for 15 grand a month. I mean, that would have been awful. That almost 200 grand a year, because obviously you got utilities and bills and stuff like that. And, I wouldn't have made any money. It would have been, I don't know what I would have done. It would have been awful. But, so how is, like, I hear like a lot of people, normally my clients always get like penthouses in those buildings where all the amenities, a lot of people are shifting away from that. Is that what you're seeing as well? Because you're seeing a lot more.
So we just sold a $33 million apartment at
Congratulations.
yeah, me per se, but it was definitely our team at Douglas.
Mm-hmm.
And it just closed on Tuesday, I believe.
Awesome.
And it was a penthouse at Arte, so close to Bell Harbor. So, and paid cash. So it is there. And here's the thing: we live in a very warm climate, so people want to be in this climate. So that's one of the main reasons why people wanted to move down here. We've also had the news that Goldman Sachs is considering moving one of their divisions from New York City to Miami. So that means that we're also going to see that dip away from tourism into financing and into other types of business aspects. But just like you said, I mean, Miami is a foodie town. We definitely are. I mean, we have some of the best restaurants, mom and pop places. And luckily, West Palm Beach and Fort Lauderdale, they open pretty quick. Back up. Obviously, everybody's doing the social distancing and wearing the masks. Yeah. And actually avoiding like every other table. But the thing is, they don't want the economy to be shut down, because once the economy shuts down, then you have other problems. You have petty theft starts to rise. People get desperate. People start looking for ways to feed their family. So
yeah, you should tell that to the New York City, the governors and municipalities. I mean, if you saw what New York City looked like, it looked like out of a horror movie. Like I just couldn't believe that was New York City. And all these things, they don't see what the repercussions are going to be. And, obviously, you're affecting families, you're affecting work, employees, you're affecting everybody when you do those things.
Yeah. Yeah. I have family in New York, so I know what's going on. It is a shame. Unfortunately, I know that health, comes first, but I agree with you. I think that there are certain things that have to be looked at with magnifying glass to make sure that you're not hurting everybody else in the same moment. So that's my 2 cents.
Yeah. What marketplaces, like, obviously when you talk about Miami, it's a general area, right? How's Palm Beach? How's Jupiter? How are those areas? What's the hottest area you see right now?
I actually pulled up all the capital markets overviews for you. So for example, The monthly market price for per unit per apartment has actually in Palm Beach went up 1.9%. So
Wow.
that Palm Beach is doing something right. Uh,
Hmm.
we had a loss. Here, let me pull up the other one. We had a loss of, so ours went to 1.2%, meaning that we lost probably, we were at 2.3 last year at this time around. So we
Hmm.
ton of percentage on that aspect. But it doesn't mean that the value depreciates forever. It just means that we're going to be on that little dip and then we're going to go back up.
Yeah,
It,
I mean, they're all cyclical cycles. Up here, it runs in about every 8 years, 7 to 8 years. Is that sort of the way it's down there as well?
yes, exactly, exactly. So Fort Lauderdale actually was hit the worst. They were at negative 1.1% in price change for each apartment. So in multifamily, that's a big dip in comparison to Palm Beach and Miami markets.
Yeah. And what deals have you been seeing? Like, is there a certain price range where you see opportunities between like 2 to 4? Is it 3 to 5? Where do you see those opportunities?
Yeah, the opportunities, I always tell my customers the golden rule of 10. So when you are ready to invest into a multifamily complex, always go above 10 doors. You don't want to lose, let's say that you lose one tenant, right? That's
Hmm.
100 of your loss if you have a one bedroom, a single family home. When you have
Yeah.
a home, you lose one tenant, it's 100% negative profit for you. However, if you have 10 units, that means it's only 10%.
Hmm.
So that math works and you are more capable of having a better passive income when you're at that range. Now, a 10 building in Miami may cost you somewhere between 900 to 1.2 million. In comparison to Palm Beach County, it's going to be a little bit less.
Okay. And what is your cap rates? Like, so let's say just use a round number, $1 million, right? So a 10 door is $1 million. So it's costing you 100 a door, right? What is the cap rate? What are the normal rental rates for a door?
So our cap rates are actually lower in the Miami market. We're actually between 4.9 and up to 6.3
Okay.
because a lot of people have come in and they've renovated a lot of these buildings. So it doesn't necessarily mean that they're in bad standing, but the cap rates are going to go higher as you leave the primary markets.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I always wonder. I mean, obviously when you have wealth, you want to park it in multifamily. I do a lot of spec building up here, so our rates are more along the 30 to 40% returns and about 16%. But obviously that's way more risky. We don't really have multifamily in the Hamptons. The closest multifamily would probably be like Riverhead or, Western, a little more west, which is like 45 minutes away. So I've never really tapped into that game because it's just not in my marketplace. But I always wonder, so that's pretty crazy though. You could buy 10 doors for $1 million. And if you're only making 6%, that means you're only making like 60,000. So it's 600 a door.
It's like about 100,000 per year, more or less. So, for example, the building I just sold in Miami Beach is sold for 3.3 million,
Hmm.
and putting in about 150,000 in profit, net profit. So it's not bad. And then there's a lot of taboo as well with Section 8 tenantships. And
Hmm.
actually, this COVID, we noticed that people who were in the Section 8 um, government help basically saved this owner's investment because he was getting paid all through COVID. While we have other sellers who didn't have, Section 8 tenantships, and it meant that they lost their rents. That means that they're not going to be able to, get that money back. So they're working with their tenants to make sure they get paid, but it's not guaranteed.
Yeah. With Section 8, isn't it a direct deposit from the government, right?
Yeah.
It's right into your account. So you don't have to worry about anything. You know you're getting paid every month. How does it work with, like, let's say there's 9 rooms, right? And there's Section 8. And that 10th room, how does it work? You don't get paid for that 10th room, obviously, right? So you have to put it on the website, the Section 8 website, and then do those book up pretty quickly compared to other units?
Yeah, it's a process. You still have to go through the government and get approved and make sure that you're passing all of the tests that they ask you to do. But
Hmm.
that's a benefit for the owner because you can always say, well, you're not following the rules of the government. We can kick you out. We follow the procedure and you're done. With the other tenantships, you basically are stuck with that tenant until you go and with quickly have a memorandum that you could not evict anybody out. So unless the owner was willing to work with you and say,
Wow.
okay, we're some of that rent to the back end of your rent, or make it as smaller payments into your rent, it would look really bad on you, and then the government would definitely side towards the tenantship. Does that make sense?
Wow, yeah, I mean, that's insane. I mean, who knew that, like, you know, obviously, like you said, Section 8 has a bad stigma compared to the other landlords. So
Yeah,
I
and it's a,
appreciate you coming on.
yeah. I had for example, I had the building across the street, right? So I sold that
Hmm.
building, and the owner called me and said, I want you to look at my business, at my analysis piece on my multifamily. So I
Hmm.
did, and he was completely down for that reason. And
Wow.
I explained to him, look, I don't list to list, I list to sell, and I'm list to help you. And my
Hmm.
value to you right now is, don't list it, don't sell it. Wait until you fix the things that you need to fix, and then you can probably consider selling it. But that's going to cost you about 6 months of work, and you have to really look at the numbers and make sure that your expenses are not outweighing your income.
Yeah, and they also have to get the rent rolls up, right? So that they can sell it for top dollar. Well, I appreciate you coming on. I'm going to be down there the second week in January, so you got to show me all this multifamily. I'm always intrigued by different markets and different, obviously, opportunities. So thank you, Andy, for coming on, and I'll see you soon.
Thank you, Jimmy. Awesome. I appreciate you.
Talk to you soon.